This is the end of the beginning. Welcome to today's show. Obviously, I've been covering everything going on in Maui. I covered what happened in Canada a few months ago. We all talked about the formaldehyde and everything else going on that came into North America from Canada. All these things that are being done by design. It's very clear to see that all the governments of the world have gone rogue. They have all turned on the citizens, and they are using climate change as a way to scorch earth. They're going scorched earth on all of us. They're going scorched earth in every single country. So it's gone from Maui, and we're back in Canada, where it really hasn't stopped since the original fires that we saw. Now we're seeing the Northwest Territories under severe attack. And I'm going to show you this, which is just absolutely frustrating. It's sickening. You'll see the orange skies again, right? Because, you shouldn't be suspicious about those orange skies, and people are evacuating. 20,000 people are being forced to evacuate at a Yellowknife, which probably means they're going to torch it, and that could be another potential place for a smart city. It's about more than just smart cities, though. It's about destruction. It's about recreation, and as they believe, they are infinite and they are constant. So they will constantly do this all around the earth. They will constantly burn things down so that they can rebuild like the phoenix rising out of the ashes. But what's so frustrating to me is when you see the story in Yellowknife, right? I'll sit there and I'll talk about how it's not climate change, that these are controlled, created fires to burn down towns, to burn down cities, so that they can bring in these imprisonment camps, which are the smart cities. They're prisons. That's what they are. You're going to be trapped in these. People don't seem to understand. But the common person just can't think past that, so they just regurgitate that it's climate change. Oh, yeah, it's climate change? Let's check the weather up in Yellowknife. As of right now, it's 50 degrees Fahrenheit. That's right. 50 degrees Fahrenheit. Wow, how warm. That will start a wildfire. And we're talking even north of Yellowknife, where these fires supposedly started, which would mean it's colder, because the more north you go, the colder it gets. So we could even look back at the weather. Let's just look back at this past week starting Monday. Oh boy, it hit a high of 63 on Monday. Tuesday, a high of 64. Wednesday, insane, a high of 68. Oh boy, global warming at its best. Thursday, a high of 64, and then Friday, a high of 54, and today it's 50. Boy, yeah, that'll really make a fire spread. That'll cause over 200, because as of right now, they're claiming there's 200 separate fires burning across the region. So those type of temperatures, of course, tie into global warming. Now, they don't expect you to look up the forecast in Yellowknife or north of Yellowknife. They expect you to just shut up and listen to them tell you that there's fires. And if it doesn't affect you directly, they expect you to just not care, okay? Until it happens to you and it's too late. They expect you to just go, oh man, I guess we got to do something about climate change, yep. But as long as I have my cell phone on and I could play Pokemon and do all these ridiculous, pointless, useless things on my phone and have no skills whatsoever and really have no reason to live, then I'll comply and I'll go into the smart city and I'll lock myself down, because it's the climate, right? These people are so dumbed down out there that they will literally listen to them tell you that it's climate change. They'll tell you Maui is climate change when all the trees are still standing. That's wildfires. All the trees are fine, though. Isn't a wildfire when the trees catch? Oh, no, just the homes caught, right? Let me guess. All the homes just conveniently caught, but the trees didn't, because there's moisture in the trees, right? Oh, yeah, that makes sense. And then up in Yellowknife, well, it's so hot from the climate. 50 degrees that's about right the temperature to start a massive forest fire. What? And people are listening to this. Take a look at what's going on up in Canada.
We are also following a wildfire emergency in Canada. An entire town is racing to evacuate right now as the flames close in, and Ginger is tracking the very latest. Good morning, Ginger.
Morning to you, Rebecca. The city is Yellowknife, the capital of Canada's Northwest Territories. It's got a population of about 20,000 people, and they got to get everybody out by tomorrow, when they anticipate the fire that is far too close for comfort to take over even the highway, the one that goes in and out. So this is one of 250 fires within the Northwest Territories and more than 1,000 across Canada. We know they have had an unprecedented season, but this graphic that we're about to show you really puts it into perspective. This is all of the acreage burned to date. Look at 2023, nearly doubling their worst in the last 40 years of history. And so 600% of normal to date, an incredible one. And the impacts here have been smoke, and they will be unhealthy air quality, Minnesota, Wisconsin, back into Oregon and parts of Washington state. Lindsay.
Wow, that graph really just unprecedented there. Ginger, thank you.
A mass evacuation is underway with 20,000 people trying to escape a raging wildfire that's threatening the city of Yellowknife, Canada. That's the capital of the Northwest Territories. The only highway in the remote area has been jammed with cars and trucks. Planes are now carrying people to safety. The wildfire, one of nearly 1,100 burning across Canada, could reach the outskirts of the city by the weekend.
So again, we're seeing these orange skies. So we're seeing them pollute and poison the skies. They're putting formaldehyde. I've covered this already. I'm sure most of you have already seen this. You've seen stuff on Twitter, other channels. You've seen that they're putting formaldehyde and benzene. You know, benzene, the same stuff. If you've seen Roger Rabbit, the same stuff in the dip that killed the tunes. Yeah, well, it'll do the same thing to human beings if you get enough of it. So they're putting that in the air. They're polluting air. And also, obviously, these types of chemicals are going to do what? They're going to destroy crops as well, right? They're going to poison water as well because they're going to get in the water. But it's the climate, right? Because it's the boogeyman in the room. So when you make basic questions about how it could be the climate, nobody answers it. They just defend it and say we need to do something, and it's the most existential threat to humanity because Joe Biden and John Kerry and King Charles, they all just spew it out. So these morons just repeat it because they would never think that there could be people so wicked that they would do this. But we all know that there are people this wicked. The Bible tells us there are people this wicked. If one searches Bible verses about the wicked, if you're not somebody who's very familiar with the Bible, you'll find that it's mentioned many times about the wicked. Well, what do you think the wicked means? You know, the guy, at the grocery store who didn't hold the door for you? We're talking about wicked beyond comprehension for most people. Now, I can comprehend how wicked these people are because I've been watching what they've been doing for years. Now, is it hard for me to grasp that people could be that wicked? Yeah, it is hard to grasp, but this is foretold to us. And if you actually knew the things that they do in secret and in darkness, if you actually read books on some of that stuff, well, then this is nothing. This is breakfast at Tiffany's for these people. So, again, folks, they're going to tell you it's the climate. They're going to tell you that we need to do change. We need to stay indoors, all this stuff. But it's 50 degrees up there. 50 degrees. So you want to say, oh, the fire started a few days ago. Okay, sorry. It was 60 degrees on Monday. Ooh, boy, I'm burning up hearing it. Oh my goodness, my skin is boiling. It's so, just talking about temperatures that hot just makes my skin burn. I mean, really? So the story is that most of these people are being forced to evacuate. We'll see what ends up happening to the town. And saying thousands of residents are rushing to evacuate the capital of Canada's Northwest Territories, as you saw earlier, as more than 200 fires burned across the region. I've even read they're claiming 1,000 fires, but we'll see what this leads to. Leaving many to face dangerous road conditions or stand in line for hours in desperate need for emergency flights. The capital city of Yellowknife, home of 20,000 people, and several other Northwest Territory communities have been ordered to evacuate as crews battle 236 active wildfires in the region. So they're ordered to evacuate. Now, obviously, when you see this coming, it's not really smart to stay. But what people really need to say is who's behind it, who's doing it, right? Anyone, you know what I try to tell people? Is anybody noticing like how life was, and then all of a sudden it's just thing after thing after thing of these people meddling in your life, right? Forcing these things on you, forcing, indoctrination on the kids, forcing potions in your body, forcing you to wear a mask, forcing you to stay home, forcing now the climate agenda. Don't you just see, like, when has this happened before? It'd be like one event every 5 to 10 years would be something. And of course it was an event they created anyway, because none of this stuff would be going on, right? Whether it was like an event like the 11th of September, an event at one of the schools, it would just be spread out. Now it's just boom, 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 boom. And people aren't suspicious at all. They're just like, oh man, everyone's depressed. Nobody's asking why they're depressed. Nobody realizes what's going on with mental health as far as those towers go, radiation, etc. No, nobody's at all just like, hey, wait a minute. This is just too much going on at once. Oh, the world just suddenly decided to burn on its own, right? People who are obsessed with power, obsessed with control, we see how mentally sick they are with the stuff that they're doing and they're pushing and promoting. We see them taking away and stripping rights in every single country. But don't be suspicious, because most of these people are on autopilot. Their brains are on autopilot. There's no thinking going on. They're just like, oh, it's the climate. Because as long as they have their few distractions in front of them, that's all that matters. But you shut their phones off for a second and they'll go AWOL, right? They'll be running amok trying to get their phones back on because they can't live without that, but they don't realize that, well, food and water are necessary and they're trying to poison all of it and destroy all of it. So you're dependent on them. Then you can get your Soylent product that will do nothing to give your body any type of nutrients, and you'll just get sick and die off, right? Nobody's going, hey, fires in the climate. No one's talking about how it affects the water when there's formaldehyde in the air. Nobody knows how there's formaldehyde and benzene in the air just from a controlled fire burn. And I say control because obviously they're the ones creating it. So the infernos in the Northwest Territories are among more than 1,000 fires. Okay, so there are 1,000 fires burning across Canada as the country endures its worst fire season on record. Smoke from the fire, right, worst fire season on record because of global warming when it's 60 degrees out. Yeah, right? See, they can just get away with this because nobody asks questions. I mean, they could come out and say, like, somewhere in California when they did the direct energy weapon, people will believe it because they're like, well, it's California. Oh, and it got really hot in California. We're talking northern Canada. So clearly up there, clearly in Canada. We all know Trudeau is Klaus Schwab's little packing of the fudge boy. So we know that obviously he's a puppet and he's doing what he's told. And then he goes out and he just does these distraction stories like, oh, he's getting a divorce. And Justin Trudeau cares so much about people. And he gives these ridiculous speeches. The guy is sabotaging Canada just as bad as Biden sabotaging America. North America in general is just Babylon is just going into the toilet on purpose by these buffoons. And it's thing after thing in Canada. I mean, you have the government up there promoting euthanasia, taxpayers funding gender surgeries. Huh? I mean, nobody's seeing what's going on, right? It's called sabotage, as the song says. So Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau met with a group of senior government officials and ministers on Thursday to discuss the ongoing fires and their potential to impact infrastructure, including roadways and telecommunications. He says, we're all tired of the word unprecedented, yet there is no other way to describe this situation in the Northwest Territories. Yeah, it is unprecedented. It's unprecedented when the government starts killing its own citizens, at least in this day and age. It's happened it's happened before in the past, but it is unprecedented when not only is the government killing its citizens and funding it through euthanasia, but also the government is burning people's homes to the ground. So it is unprecedented. Thanks, Justin. More than 1,000 people were flown out of Yellowknife on emergency flights Thursday, and close to an additional 2,000 seats are available Friday. Territory officials said in an online update. This is probably them saying, you know what, we'll be real nice. We'll fly them out. We won't kill them, but we'll burn their homes down, and then we'll force them into a smart city when they get back. Now, is that 100% what's going to happen? We'll see what this leads to, right? Because you're not going to hear stories about, those types of things. They're just going to come in and say, we need to rebuild, and they're not going to say how. And then next thing you know, you're locked in, and you're trapped inside of a smart city. So it's 50 degrees right now. 50 degrees, and a fire's burning. Now, people will be like, well, that's possible. Well, isn't the narrative? I'm going off of your narrative, Democrats. I'm going off of your narrative, brainwashed. Okay, well, if climate change is real, and global warming is real, wouldn't it need to be really, really hot for a forest fire to start? Like when you drive, everybody's been out of their home at some point, right? No, everybody's been around somewhere where there's a forest, and they've seen old Smokey the Bear, right? And you see that sign, and it's like, risk of fire today. And it's like, low. Somebody's getting paid to go out there and move that thing around, by the way. Sooner or later, they won't have to. It'll be all through smart technology. But anyway, they're moving it up and down. They're like, oh, it's high risk. And you're like, oh, it must be a lot of humidity or not a lot of humidity, or it might be really hot. Well, it's 50 degrees. So what are you going to tell me next? Are you going to tell me in December when it's 15 degrees and snowing and there's a huge fire in the woods that it's climate change, that it's global warming? Probably. They probably will at this point because people will believe it. So they are going scorched earth. They're going Maui, where they're actually taking lives and taking land. Right now in Canada, people are just looking. They're like, oh, they're just, the woods are burning out. Well, looks like Canada actually might be the blueprint for a massive, massive prison. Burn all this land, burn all the woods out, have the taxpayers fund a rebuild, and they just put in giant FEMA camps and giant prisons all across where all the open land was, right? And who would it be prisons for? Well, the people in America, North America, right? Because most of us look around and we're like, there's not that many prisons here, right? For everybody out there who's going like, what are we all paying our taxes for and everything else? You know, they can't throw us all in prison. But you don't think that the part of the planet, I mean, just go across that border, you shut the border down and make it all one. Everything's going to be one anyway. And then all of Canada, all that open land, all that beautiful scenery. Yeah, it'll be beautiful scenery when you're looking out your cell window. Think about it. So this is what we're headed towards. We're watching our world burn, our earth burn, all courtesy of a global government. And there's still people out there that like these people, that want to vote for these people, that want communism. It's insane. It's insane. All you can do is warn them. And then when crap hits the fan and we're all tied down, you can blame those people and take it out on them because they're the ones who are responsible because they're enabling this. They're just as equally responsible as the globalists are because they're so stupid, they're so narcissistic, and they're so sensitive that they're allowing this to occur. And they're actually fighting for it. We got to do stuff about the climate. Oh, yeah? You want to do something about the climate? Stop the government from using direct energy weapons. Stop the government from not cloud seeding when they should be. So if these fires were real, the most common thing anyone should say is then why doesn't our government put out the fires with cloud seeding since we know that technology has existed since way before Vietnam? They have the ability to do it. They can create rain. They're doing it in Dubai right now. Why don't they do it? Oh, play dumb and pretend like they can't, right? Oh, that's not a question we should ask. Oh, right. Just let everything burn, right? Because whatever the government wants, let them do, right? Including bend over for them, because that's what's happening right now in our world. I thank everybody for being here. Reminders, please subscribe to my backup channels if you haven't yet. Prayers to everybody out there whose lives continue to be affected by this rogue government, world government that is doing this to the people. Hopefully people will wake up. Look, if you're somebody who watches this, just point out to somebody, be like, well, why is there a forest fire when it's been in the 60s all week? Is that hot? Last I checked, it's not at all, actually. That's like fall weather. You know? They're making you think it's like 120 degrees. And it's like, oh, well, now I understand why. The sun's so strong, things are catching fire. Oh, yeah? 50 degrees right now. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Give me a break. I thank everyone for being here. Hope you're doing well. God bless all of you and your families.